Welcome back to Cozy English Corner. I'm sitting here looking out the window, and the Columbus gray skies have officially arrived. We are expecting our first real snow this weekend.
It is that time of year, Alex. The temperature drops, and suddenly everyone in the Midwest remembers how much they need a warm coffee and a good conversation to get through the day.
Exactly. And speaking of conversation, today we are looking at something very specific. We are examining everyday phrases and phrasal verbs. But we are not just giving a vocabulary list.
Right, because knowing a list of 50 phrases does not solve the real problem. The real problem is the paralyzing fear of sounding unnatural when you speak.
That is the core of it. I speak to so many listeners who lie awake at night, replaying a conversation they had at the grocery store or at work, thinking, I sounded like a robot. I said, I am fine, thank you, and they looked at me strangely.
I see this every day. I run a bakery here in the Short North District. People come in, they want to be part of the community, but the language barrier creates this profound sense of isolation. They feel invisible.
And that is exactly why mastering natural phrases like, how's it going? Or, what have you been up to? Is not about grammar. It is about survival. It is about claiming your space in a new culture.
I completely agree. When a customer says, hello, how are you? I answer politely. But when someone says, hey, long time no see, my entire posture changes. I feel a human connection.
There is actually a scientific term for this. It is called phatic communion. The anthropologist Bronislaw Malinowski coined it to describe speech that does not share information, but rather builds social bonds.
Wait, really? So these small phrases are literally the glue of society?
Precisely. When you ask, how is it going, you do not actually want a medical report. You are performing a social ritual. And if you do not know the ritual, you are locked out of the community.
That makes so much sense. It explains the heavy anxiety non-native speakers feel. They are not afraid of using the wrong verb tense. They are afraid of failing the social ritual.
Exactly. Let us transition to the workplace. This is where the anxiety peaks. Imagine you are in a meeting and someone says, let's circle back to that. If you only know textbook English, you are completely lost.
Yes, circle back or touch base. I used to work in human resources before I opened the bakery. I saw brilliant employees stay completely silent in meetings because they could not find the natural rhythm to enter the conversation.
Silence is often interpreted as a lack of knowledge, which is deeply unfair. Having a phrase like, I will look into it and get back to you, is a shield. It protects your professional dignity.
It really is a shield. Instead of freezing and looking panicked, you smoothly say, that is a great question. I will get back to you on that. It buys you time and maintains your authority.
And notice the structure there. Phrasal verbs are everywhere. Look into, get back to. There is a cognitive reason why these are so difficult for learners to master.
I am curious about that. Why do they cause so much trouble?
Neurologically, native speakers process a phrasal verb like look into as one single semantic unit. But a learner's brain tries to process look and into as two separate concepts, which creates a micro delay in comprehension.
That is fascinating. That micro delay is probably what makes people feel like they are always one step behind in the conversation.
Exactly. And when you are living in Columbus, especially during Ohio State football season, conversations move fast. If you are standing at a tailgate party and someone says, catch you later, you cannot afford to translate that word by word.
You really cannot. The Midwestern friendliness is wonderful, but it demands active participation. If a neighbor says, don't be a stranger, and you just stare at them, it breaks that warmth.
Let us talk about expressing limits and negative emotions. This is a profound pain point. How do you disagree or express frustration respectfully in English without sounding aggressive or childlike?
That is so difficult. If a vendor is consistently late delivering flour to my bakery, I cannot just say, I am angry. It sounds unprofessional. I need nuance.
Right. You need phrases like, I see where you are coming from, but, or, that is the last straw. These phrases carry emotional intelligence. They signal your boundaries clearly but professionally.
Using I see where you are coming from instantly de-escalates conflict. It shows you are listening. It is a very mature way to handle disagreements.
And what about when you are completely overwhelmed? I know a lot of our listeners are managing families, jobs, and learning a language simultaneously. The mental toll is massive.
Yes, the sheer exhaustion. Sometimes you just need to say, I can't be bothered, or I have had enough. It is deeply validating to have the exact words to express your exhaustion.
It is an emotional release valve. If you do not have the vocabulary to express your stress gracefully, that stress builds up inside until it damages your physical health or your relationships.
Absolutely. And conversely, when things go wrong, knowing how to self-soothe in English is important. Saying to yourself, it is not the end of the world, shifts your perspective immediately.
I want to touch on asking for help. In American culture, independence is highly valued. Asking for help can feel like a failure for immigrants or international professionals.
I see that constantly. People would rather struggle with a heavy box outside my shop than ask. But if you use the phrase, could you do me a favor? It changes the dynamic completely.
Because could you do me a favor appeals to the Midwestern desire to be helpful without making you look weak. It is collaborative.
Exactly. Or saying, sorry to bother you, but it acknowledges their space and time. It is a sign of respect, and people respond to respect beautifully.
Let us consider misunderstandings. Misunderstandings create fear. A listener told me once they pretended to understand a contractor at their house because they were too embarrassed to ask him to repeat himself.
Oh, that is so dangerous, especially with contracts or home repairs. You end up paying for a mistake just to save face.
Exactly. That is where just to clarify becomes your best tool. Just to clarify, you mean the roof needs to be completely replaced? It puts you back in control of the situation.
It removes the embarrassment. You are not saying, I do not understand. You are saying, I am ensuring we are aligned. It is a very powerful shift in mindset.
Mindset is everything. When we learn English from books, we treat it like an academic subject. But language is an unpredictable, messy human behavior.
It is very messy. Just listen to people talking at a coffee shop. Half of the sentences are unfinished, but the meaning is carried by phrases like, you know how it is, or that makes sense.
I am so glad you mentioned, you know how it is. That phrase is a shortcut to empathy. It invites the listener to share your burden.
Yes, traffic on Interstate 70 was a nightmare today. You know how it is. Instantly, the other person nods. They feel the connection. You are no longer strangers.
Let us explore the unexpected. Out of the blue. This is one of those phrases that paints a beautiful picture, but if you do not know the idiom, it sounds completely absurd.
Imagine translating out of the blue literally. It makes no sense. But using it shows that you are comfortable with the rhythm and poetry of the English language.
Comfort is the ultimate goal. When you are comfortable, you stop translating in your head. You bypass that cognitive load we discussed earlier.
And how do you get there? It is not by memorizing a list of 50 phrases in one night. That will just cause more anxiety.
No, it is about building a personal toolkit. Choose 3 phrases this week. Maybe, how is it going? That makes sense, and I will look into it. Use them until they belong to you.
I love that. Use them until they belong to you. Because once they are yours, they become automatic. You stop thinking about the grammar and start focusing on the person standing in front of you.
Which brings us back to the core mission of Cozy English Corner. We do not just teach English. We remove the barriers that keep you isolated. We want you to feel at home here, whether you are in Ohio or halfway across the world.
That is a beautiful mission, Alex. Being able to communicate with confidence changes your entire trajectory in life. It opens doors you did not even know were closed.
Vivienne, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights. It is always invaluable to have a local business owner's perspective on how language operates in the real world.
It was my pleasure. It is worth a try for everyone listening. Go out today, grab a coffee, and use one of these phrases. Don't be a stranger.
Perfectly said. To all our listeners, take a deep breath. You are doing much better than you think. Keep practicing, keep stepping forward, and we will catch you in the next episode.